Just weeks into his NFL journey, Shedeur Sanders made headlines for showing up in the middle of a tragedy that most athletes would have stayed far away from. Not with a donation, not with a tweet. He showed up in person, against the advice of fans, critics, and even his own team supporters. Why? Because as he said himself, God told me to come out here. What happened next didn't just help a devastated community, it shocked the entire city of Cleveland. And it might just be one of the most powerful things an NFL rookie has ever done off the field. It all happened on June 23rd. A quiet Saturday morning in Cleveland's Garden Valley neighborhood turned into a nightmare in seconds. An explosion tore through Rainbow Terrace apartments, shaking buildings and sending plumes of black smoke into the sky. What started as a normal day instantly became a scene of chaos, flames, and heartbreak. Firefighters from over 20 departments rushed in, but the blaze moved faster than anyone could have predicted. In the middle of it all was Cordell Sheffield, a 30-year-old man, a father figure, and a real-life hero. When the fire broke out, most people ran, but Sheffield ran back in. Not because he had to, but because his stepchildren were still inside. He saved them. He got them out alive. But he didn't make it. Sheffield died from the burns he suffered while rescuing his family. A man who gave everything so someone else could live. By the time the fire was out, 40 families were homeless. 5 people were in the hospital. An entire community was shattered, not just by the destruction, but by the loss of a man who proved in his final moments what true bravery looks like. But what happened after would turn this tragedy into something even bigger. While Cleveland was still reeling from the fire, Shedeur Sanders was miles away, focused on training, film study, and everything that comes with being a rookie quarterback in the NFL. He had no personal ties to the Garden Valley neighborhood, no media obligation, no reason to get involved. But then something happened that changed everything. It wasn't a call from the Browns. It wasn't a carefully planned PR pitch. It was a random Instagram DM from someone Sanders didn't know, simply telling him what had happened. That one message hit differently. There was no big plan, no discussion, no delay. His response? Just one sentence. Dang, that's crazy. And then action. He didn't send it to his team's front office. He didn't forward it to an assistant. He took it personally. And instead of brushing it off or just donating quietly behind the scenes, Sanders made a decision that caught everyone off guard. He said he wanted to bring joy back to that neighborhood. Not someday, not eventually, right now. Because when tragedy strikes, most people wait for someone else to fix it. Shedeur Sanders didn't wait. He answered a message from a stranger and started something no one saw coming. The moment Shedeur Sanders announced he was heading to Cleveland's east side to host an event for the victims, the internet exploded, but not in support. The backlash was instant. Comments poured in warning him to stay away. Not just from strangers, but from his own fans. Some said it was too dangerous. Others claimed it would be a distraction. Some flat out told him, "That's not your place. You don't owe them anything." It would have been easy to listen. He's a rookie with the weight of expectations on his shoulders, already under a microscope. One wrong move could become a headline. And this wasn't a team-sanctioned event. It wasn't safe. It was raw, real, unpredictable. But instead of backing down, Sanders stood taller. When asked why he'd go where so many warned him not to, he didn't give a rehearsed statement. He gave a reason. God told me to come out here, so I'm never going to question his word. That wasn't PR, that was purpose. While others talked about risk, image, and timing, Sanders focused on something else entirely: people. And he was about to prove just how much showing up can matter. On the afternoon of the event, the Garden Valley neighborhood didn't look like a place recovering from tragedy. It looked like hope. Shedeur Sanders didn't show up for a photo op. He didn't stay for 15 minutes, take a few pictures, and leave. He got there at 4:30 p.m., and he stayed until the sun went down. For 4 straight hours, Sanders was in the heart of a neighborhood that had just lost everything. Food trucks served free meals. Kids had their faces painted, bounce houses shook with laughter. Local barbers gave out free haircuts. But what made the event unforgettable wasn't the setup. It was Sanders himself. He didn't act like a celebrity. He didn't hide behind security. He played pickup football with neighborhood kids in an open field, laughing, running routes, and throwing passes like it was just another day at the park. These were kids who had lived through trauma just weeks earlier, now smiling like nothing else mattered. One kid said his favorite part was meeting Shedeur, but if you looked closer, you'd realize Sanders needed that day just as much as they did. Because what happened on that field wasn't about football, it was about healing. Out of everything that happened at the Fun Fest, the food, the music, the games, there was one moment that revealed exactly who Shedeur Sanders really is. No cameras, no microphone, just an open patch of grass next to the event. That's where Sanders and his teammate Mike Hall Jr. started tossing a football around. Before long, kids from the neighborhood joined in, sprinting barefoot, laughing, shouting, just being kids again. Most had lost their homes. Some had lost loved ones. But for a few hours, none of that mattered. And here was Sanders, in the middle of it all. Not as an NFL quarterback, but as a friend. No jersey, no spotlight, just presence. Councilman Richard Starr said it best. This is bigger than writing a check. It's bigger than just saying, "I love you." Being here, actually here, that's what matters. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about image. It was about showing up when it would have been easier to stay home. In that moment, playing football with kids who had every reason to give up, Sanders did something far greater than lead a team. He became part of one. And that's when Cleveland stopped seeing him as a player and started seeing him as theirs. To the casual observer, it might have looked like a one-day event, a nice gesture from a rookie trying to make a good impression. But what Shedeur Sanders did in Garden Valley wasn't a one-off. It was part of something deeper. This was actually the second event organized to support the families affected by the explosion. Local leaders and residents had already started the work. Sanders didn't try to take over. He didn't try to make it his moment. Instead, he amplified what was already happening, bringing his voice, his platform, and his resources to people already on the ground. That's what real leadership looks like. He didn't come in as a savior. He came in as a supporter. Someone who understood that healing doesn't happen in headlines. It happens in the quiet moments when people feel seen. And what's even more telling? After the event, Sanders didn't talk about how much he gave. He talked about how much he received. He called the people genuine, said the vibes were down to earth. You could tell he wasn't just impressed by the community. He was inspired by them. Most people missed that part. But for those who were paying attention, it said everything. Most rookies stay laser-focused on the field. They're told to avoid distractions, steer clear of risk, and protect their image. But Shedeur Sanders didn't play by that script. He stepped directly into a community that was hurting, not because it made sense for his career, but because it felt right to his conscience. That decision goes far beyond football. In a league where players are constantly judged by stats, contracts, and highlight reels, Sanders showed a different kind of strength, the kind that can't be measured in yards or touchdowns. He chose presence over comfort. He chose people over perception, and he did it without asking for praise. It would have been easy to post a graphic with thoughts and prayers, easy to send a donation and keep it moving. But Sanders didn't take the easy route. He made a choice most veterans wouldn't, let alone a 22-year-old rookie under national pressure. He reminded everyone watching that leadership doesn't start when the cameras roll. It starts when no one's expecting it. This wasn't a brand move. This was a human move. And it showed that Shedeur Sanders isn't just playing for the Browns. He's playing for something much bigger. The NFL is a league built on talent, but sustained by leadership. And what Shedeur Sanders just did, that was a masterclass. Not in football mechanics, but in humanity. Without saying it outright, Sanders sent a message to every locker room in the league. Being a great player isn't enough anymore. You have to show up. Not just for your teammates, but for your community. Not just when it's convenient, but when it's uncomfortable. Especially when it's uncomfortable. He didn't need a spotlight or a press release. He didn't come in with a camera crew or a polished speech. He came with his time, his energy, and his presence, something money can't buy and headlines can't fake. And that's what sets him apart. In 4 short hours, Sanders showed a version of leadership the NFL desperately needs more of. Quiet, consistent, and real. He didn't come to be celebrated. He came to serve. And in doing so, he raised the bar, not just for rookies, but for veterans, coaches, and execs across the league. Because sometimes the greatest lessons in football have nothing to do with the game. And Sanders? He just gave the league one they won't forget. In a world where athletes are constantly praised for what they do on the field, Shedeur Sanders just reminded us that true greatness is often defined by what you do off of it. He didn't just talk about giving back. He showed up. He didn't follow the crowd. He followed his gut. While others hesitated, he stepped forward. And in doing so, he didn't just support a hurting neighborhood. He became part of its healing. But here's the question. Should more athletes be doing this? Should showing up in person be the new standard? Not just writing checks or posting hashtags? Or do you think what Sanders did is rare for a reason? Let us know in the comments below, because this story is bigger than football, and your voice matters here too. And if this story moved you like it moved us, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell. We're here to bring you real stories about real people making a real difference. Stories that remind us what character, courage, and compassion really look like. Because sometimes the most unforgettable plays happen far from the field.